The current account is perhaps the most ubiquitous form of financial product. A study by the OFT a couple of years ago found that 90% of us use them regularly. But the humble bank account is coming under attack from a certain form of fraud.
James Taylor of Experian told me that the firm's fraud index had found that current account fraud is now at a record high.
Current account fraud has surged over the last few years. Going back 5 years, current account fraud was almost not a problem. Now it's the most targeted financial product. 44 in every 10,000 applications for current accounts or overdrafts in the first quarter of this year were found to be fraudulent. It's either identity fraud, where a fraudster attempts to open a financial product in the name of somebody else, or a genuine individual misrepresenting themselves to, again, open financial services products or to obtain credit that they wouldn't normally qualify for.
So more of us are attempting to fib to our banks. But how good are the banks at spotting these fraudulent activities? And what happens if you get caught?
All sorts of other publicly available sources of data will be consulted. For example, credit records, credit history files through the credit agencies, also voters' roll, address history, fraud exchange data systems. This is simply to make sure that Mr. John Smith from One High Road is actually Mr. John Smith from One High Road, as opposed to either a completely fictitious identity or somebody purporting to be Mr. John Smith of that address. No bank is under any obligation to offer a bank account to an individual. So there will be criteria that they have, maybe minimum balances and all of those usual things. So if they detect fraud on the account, it doesn't mean that they have to keep the account open. So, for example, an individual who has used forged pay slips in an attempt to open a bank account may have every intention of running the account honestly, but suspect that their lack of income might cause a problem. However, it's still fraud, and if the bank detects that, then invariably what they will do is they will take a decision based on the risk that that presents not to operate an account.
Clearly, getting caught trying to lie to your bank can have some pretty unpleasant ramifications. I asked the CCCS why more of us are being tempted to get away with it.
Well, I think it's a symptom of how difficult people are finding life at the moment. But it's really important that instead of trying to secure further credit, you look at the underlying cause of your difficulty, because it will make the problem worse.
And is more credit the answer to the money worries?
Well, it's definitely not the answer. Trying to secure more credit, if you already have a debt problem, it will only make the situation worse. It's much better to seek free advice from a debt charity like the Consumer Credit Counselling Service as early as possible.
Lying to your bank is never the answer. No matter how bad your money worries are now, they'll be an awful lot worse if you get caught trying current account fraud.